based in New York City, and just is
Nice.
I
Staying in there.
almost jumped in with the New York City.
Welcome to Pluck That. I'm Nick Ciraldo, and I'm joined by Jonathan Bass and Michael Boyd. Thanks for listening. In this episode, a little bit later, we're going to be talking with Gohar Vardanyan, the amazing Armenian-American guitarist based in New York City. And just is...
Nice.
I almost jumped in with the New York City.
All this is staying in. Do not edit.
Yeah, settle in, guys.
Yeah, a fantastic guitarist, and really looking forward to chatting with her about her playing, recordings, and more. So this episode, we have a couple things to talk about. First, though, we have some news.
Get informed.
Oh my God. All right, I'll start with some news. This was actually a cool thing that happened last week. I was invited to give some presentations at a school district in Alabama. They have a number of, well, I'll just back up a little bit. Public school teachers do what's called professional development. Maybe some of our listeners know exactly what I'm talking about, but basically like the day before a new school year, a new semester starts, they'll come into a school and have a day of like continuing education, a little bit of extra training. Maybe they're interested in starting a new bit of curriculum, whatnot. And they bring in people to kind of give presentations on those topics. And so they invited me to come and give presentations in the morning about running a guitar class, and in the afternoon running a ukulele class. So I did it, and it was great. It was daunting because I was going to be talking with a bunch of pre-college educators. I'm used to talking with college educators, and so I wasn't exactly sure where I was going to fit in terms of like what I had to say and what they already knew, and but it ended up working out pretty well. I learned the most, I think, from the afternoon talking with the elementary school teachers, and just kind of shout out to elementary school teachers in dealing with all they have to deal with, solving so many problems on their own, and doing a wonderful job of educating our youngest in the arts day in, day out. And so it was really interesting to listen to them. My respect grew in that afternoon. But it was cool. Got to talk with them a little bit. Got to sort of talk about, things you may want to consider, from equipment, method books to other things for both presentations. I got to play for them a little bit too, and made some friends. So it was cool. It's a cool day. I hope to do it again in a variety of other school districts as well. We shall see, though. So, Boyd, what about you? You got any news?
Well, Jonathan, once again, you have inspired me in ways you never imagined.
I can't wait for this.
So it's been a little while. This is akin to the Star Wars bad lip reading clips you used to send me all the time that were so hilarious. I made the mistake today of, as we were, prepping and trying to get our thoughts together before recording this episode, of looking at an AI transcript of what we were talking about. And I've paid attention to what people are saying about how, what is it, the false information that AI is putting out, but the level of bad transcription, I can't remember what Jonathan was saying, but it kind of turned into a bad avant-garde poetry reading that I'll share with you now It's called "I Don't Think I Have Any Ears." I don't think I have any ears. Come to play or come to watch? I don't think I have any ears. I mean, I can think of something. That's I say. I don't think I have any ears. So, our listeners
Clearly,
can comment on whether or not this should be now a regular segment. Maybe when we develop a Patreon, this could be, content for our donors only. Bash, you could contribute music, kind of like that hipster poetry slam scene, and So I Married an Axe Murderer.
yeah. I
And
mean, yeah, clearly this AI that you're referencing has no clue about the North Mississippi accent.
Well,
Ears is clearly news.
oh, okay. Now,
Yeah,
because I
there we
really
go.
was wondering where that was coming
That
from.
because yeah, well now I remember the conversation. Yeah, I don't have any news. Yeah, 'cause
Gotcha.
Nick was asking me,
oh,
"Do
that's
you
what it
have
was.
any news for the episode tonight?"
I apologize to
I don't have any
everybody who
news. Do I
has.
have any news? I don't think I have any news.
See, this is probably one of those moments. I'm so
Now,
behind on listening to our episodes that we've put out because of the holidays and starting the new semester. I could get caught up on the last few and see that Nick has edited me out of everything entirely. So, and in this case, that would be justified. So, I do have some serious news and maybe a little rantiness as well. It may blur into that. A buddy of ours in New Orleans turned me on, gosh, a couple of years, no, a couple of, maybe it was a year ago. Anyway, he, like me, gets called for musicals, and we have some auxiliary instruments. In my case, I've got a 4-string tenor banjo that I use. I am not a banjo player, but when I need that timbre to fill in something, doing the, just strummy Chicago style stuff, it works quite well. But it's not it doesn't have a plug-in. I have to always use a mic, and it's not always convenient. So he told me about a company. I think the guy's name's John Kavanaugh, so it's called Cavanjo. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Pretty brilliant, where they put a pickup in that remote drum head that you can mount on a banjo. And I've been very excited about the prospect of that. Thought, I'm going to dig into this a little bit more. And unfortunately, the banjo I have is a prototype that came from Lark in the Morning. It was a one-off for a line they were talking about developing, and they were selling it. I got it cheap. A good banjo for cheap, perfect for me because I pick it up every 2 years when I have a gig that'll call for it. But unfortunately, I don't know enough about construction techniques and things like that, and I quickly got out of my depth because you'd have to loosen the tensioning rod on the banjo, take the neck off to be able to get the lip of that drum head out. And it just wasn't worth it for me to do that because who knows if I'll ever even have another gig. So I didn't want to go that far, and it was nice because I learned how to disassemble it, put it back together, and in the process set it up even better than it was set up before. But somewhat disappointing that it didn't work out quite as well as I'd hoped, because I think it's a great product and a great idea. So maybe some of our listeners will check
yeah,
that out, and maybe it'll help solve some issues they might be having in that regard.
I
I'm
I
looking at
had
it right now, and it's really cool. Just the whole head is you know, the pickup. Cavanjo with a K, Kavanjo.
I wonder what the
It's got to
AI
be
is gonna. I wonder what the AI is gonna make of that word.
Oh wow, thanks, Nick.
New
Cavanjo,
avant-garde
Cavanjo,
poetry.
Cavanjo, Cavanjo. Um, so I'm kind of blown away that there's a pickup built into the head, the of this of a banjo. That's crazy to me.
Right. I mean, it's a drum head cut with a pickup somehow mounted in it. Crazy.
That's pretty cool. Sorry it didn't work out.
Yeah, well, there's a bit of encouraging news. that I've been in contact with the folks at Bare Knuckle Pickups, and they would like to chat with us at some point. And this came about for me finally pulling the trigger and getting a set of Bare Knuckle Pickups for a Strat that I've been eyeing for years. Thanks to watching some, videos with Rebea and anyway, it is on the way, but Jonathan, I may need you to go to the DHL place because it's been held for like a week and it's just not going anywhere. If I could change the
Seriously?
address or something, I might change it to your address so you can pick it up for me, or maybe they'll drop it off. But yeah, literally
No,
almost a week
don't
now.
do that. Whatever you do, don't do that. Oh no.
Jonathan and Nick, you may be well aware too that I have the worst luck when it comes to shipping, and it's usually been the postal service that it'll get all the way to Mobile and then get sent back to Connecticut and then come over to Chicago and back down to Gulfport and Atlanta and finally over to me and take way longer than it needs to. Usually these dedicated parcel shippers I've had better luck with, but this one's starting to get a little frustrating.
Every
Darn.
time you mention this, it automatically reminds me of the Steely Dan lyric. My old school. I can't seem to get to you through the U.S. mail. So good.
Wow.
At least I'm not reminding you of Cousin Dupree.
Well, I hope it gets there soon, and I hope that you're able to install those pickups on the upcoming guitar. And that sounds like we'll have another show and tell in a couple of weeks. So fingers crossed everything goes okay. I think that leads us to our interview. We have the good fortune of being able to sit down and chat with Gohar Vardanyan. Just a fantastic musician, fantastic guitarist, and really looking forward to diving in and asking some questions about what she's up to in terms of recording, teaching, her thoughts on the guitar world, social media, and more. And so sit tight and let's get talking with Gohar. Okay, Gohar Vardanyan, thank you so much for joining us on Pluck That.
Thank you for having me. This is going to be fun.
So we have all kinds of viewers and listeners from, professionals to amateurs alike. And one of the things that everybody loves to hear about is, I guess you could call a little bit of a rig rundown or kind of what gear you have. So if we can just kind of get this out of the way, like guitar, strings, that kind of thing.
Gear. Okay, I never really thought of it as gear because, I'm a classical guitarist, so it's mostly like acoustic things, right? So my gear, my guitar, my baby is Jean Rompre, who was a Canadian builder. So it's built by Jean Rompre. I've had it since 2013. I bought it in the summer 2013. And it's the guitar I play exclusively, even though I have a second one. That's the one I used to use before it. I don't use it for performance or for practice anymore. So Jean Rompre, it is, I guess I should show it, right? Show and tell? Yeah.
Sure.
Sure.
Why not?
Sure.
Why not?
All right. Well, because it's pretty. That's why. The
Ooh.
reason I bought it is because of this. Like it's just so pretty. In the back, it's ebony, the moon ebony from Southeast Asia. This side you can see better. This is also the same wood, and it's double-sided, which is strange, but it is double-sided. Carved back, you can probably tell. See how it's kind of like rounded.
Wow.
And cedar on the front, and the neck is dark too, which is unusual for a classical guitar to have a dark neck. So this is my guitar. The strings I use are, I think you say Knoblauch. I thought it would be Knoblauch because any English reader would read that string as Knoblauch. But I asked them, and they say you pronounce the K and you say the CH sound like the Germans would, even though it's a Spanish string. So Knoblauch, Eurythecus, and Bionylon. So the basses are very out of tune. The Eurythecus is the basses and Bionylon for the trebles. And yeah, I've been using those strings for the last couple of years. And what other gear are we talking about? Because really, as a classical guitarist, all you got is your guitar and your strings. I use a footstool and
Yeah. No, that's pretty much it. We were talking about that earlier, actually, that we're going to now start to ask all of our guest players what kind of gear they have and how the list of classical guitarists is going to be about this long. But then if you invite like an electric guitarist, they're going to have all kinds of
Yeah,
other
yeah.
things.
Well, I
Um,
mean, like we have like recording gear, right, for like concerts and stuff. But I mean, not concerts. I'm sorry, for like YouTube videos. In which
yeah,
case, my mics are Neumanns. I record with the stereo pair of the Neumann 184, I think, KM
Nice.
184s. And I use Sony cameras, and I use three of them for different angles. Yeah, and then for this purpose and for teaching, it's a Blue Yeti. Everyone has one of those, so we got all the gear down.
Thank you for the clarification on Canoblock. I just recently discovered them in the last month or two, and
Yeah.
I'm a convert. They are
They're
wonderful.
nice. Those nylons, I usually my hands don't kill strings in terms of like killing basses. Like I don't have that kind of chemistry, but I will destroy any string because I don't play very light. I have decent nails, so usually my nails win over the string. So the E string gets this like scratchy texture on it, and that just drives me insane. And with a normal any other nylon string, I use nylons. I don't use carbons. I'll destroy it within 2 weeks. Like that, after the 10-day period, the last 4 days or so, it'll have this scratchy sound, will annoy the crap out of me. I won't be able to use it. These bio nylons, they don't scratch. Like I don't understand. I've had some of them just for testing period purposes. I kept for like 2 months, and at some point the intonation starts to get like funky, but the string is not scratched. So I'm like, okay, it's worth the extra cost because they're a bit more expensive than other strings.
What about nail length? Can you
The nail length.
short, long, more flesh, more nail?
Shortest side, I guess. The A nail would be longer, but medium, I guess. They're not too short, but they're not too long. The thumb is relatively short right now. It's shorter than it should be. But yeah, I wouldn't say I play with long nails because I play a lot of rest strokes, and that will prevent me from doing so. So
Right,
yeah, this is actually very important part of the gear. That
right,
the
right.
classical guitar should answer this question.
yeah, I was just thinking the classical guitarist could go on to say, "Yep," and I use a 1A ping pong ball.
Right? Yeah, natural nails versus fake nails. There are
Yeah.
all sorts of options there for gear. So pick.
I still have mine, and I don't really play classical anymore, but they're useful, and
Yeah.
it matters.
I mean, worst case, you use it as a screwdriver somewhere.
That's
Yeah.
right.
You need to like fix something.
I was gonna go on to asking you about your training. Teachers, where you were, and all that.
Well, I was born in Armenia, and I started playing guitar because my dad made me. So I started playing. He started teaching me rather when I was 4 or 5 years old, and because he was a guitarist, and he decided that his kid, as long as that kid had 10 fingers and not completely tone deaf, that kid would play guitar. So I started playing then. Eventually, I was about 13 or so. We moved to the US, and we moved because of the guitar. So I moved to New York to go to the Juilliard's pre-college division. I went there for about 3 years. At Juilliard, I started with Antigone Goni, who now teaches in Brussels. But in the 90s, this was in the 90s, she used to be the teacher at Juilliard's pre-college. So I went there, and then I went to the Interlochen Arts Academy for high school, which is a boarding high school in northern Michigan. I did my high school there. I did 3 years. Even though I went in as a freshman, I was older, but I went in as a freshman because the credits and everything from Armenia didn't really count. So I crammed 4 years of high school into 3, just so that I don't become like a 20-year-old senior. That might be a little bit too much. So I graduated at 19 instead of 18, which is the standard for US. And then after high school, after Interlochen, I went to Peabody Conservatory in Baltimore. Oh, sorry. At Interlochen, I studied with Juan, which is actually who is currently the owner of Strings by Mail. So if you guys order from Strings by Mail, sometimes like all of the letters are from him, but sometimes they're even signed by him. So I studied with John Wunsch there, and then I went to Peabody, studied with Manuel Barroeco. That's where I did my bachelor's. And after that, came back to Juilliard, and I did my master's there with Sharon Nisbin. So full circle back to Juilliard. Graduated in 2010. No DMAs. That was it. Haven't been in school since 2010.
What was Interlaken like?
Interlaken, for me, I loved it. it was, first of all, northern Michigan, so lots of snow, and I love snow. I love winter. I love cold. So it was heaven for me because it would snow like sometime at the end of November and stay until like March. It was an interesting experience because it was the first time where I would lived away from parents. Like here, I lived with my dad when I was in New York, but at Interlaken, it's literally a dorm room you live in. It's a boarding school, so you're really away from your parents. But I loved the experience because you're there with other kids who are doing exactly the same thing as you. It's a performing arts high school, so you're going to have musicians. There was visual arts and drama and dance and creative writing. So I guess visual arts and creative writing wasn't like performance art, but so you're surrounded by other kids who are just as good as interested in culture and music as you are. So yeah, for me it was a great experience.
People come and visit as guest artists for colleges and conservatories and universities and that kind of thing. But did people come through Interlaken, or was it more?
You mean guest artists? No, we did. We had them
Did people come through?
in all instruments. But as from the guitar world as well, we would have guest artists. Actually, the way I found out about it is because Antigone Goni, she went there as a guest artist, and she learned about the school because she went to play there and teach there. And then I needed a school to go to, and she recommended that I would apply there. So, and when I was there too, I can't remember who, but multiple people came in the year. And me being an alum, actually, I've gone back and played at Interlaken as a guest artist 2 years ago, actually, the last time. So they always have artists coming in the guitar department as well as all of the other departments that they have.
Nice. Earlier, you were talking about the mics that you used when you were running down the gear. And so that might be a nice segue to us asking you about maybe your recording techniques or things that you have learned that have been very helpful for you. I'll first start by saying that I think we've all had a chance to listen to your recent recordings, in particular the Bach recordings.
Or the one before that.
Well, it's funny. I'm learning the Chaconne right now, and
okay.
I listened to your recording of that before I listened to, is it called Gohar Plays Bach?
Yeah, I put that right because the two suites are on Spotify and Apple Music. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very creative name, Gohar Plays Ball.
There's not too many other people that can take that title,
No, there are not that many Gohars playing guitar either. So
Right.
I asked because the most recent is the Chaconne, and then the Bachs are a couple of years old, or more than a couple of years old.
Yeah, but it was the Chaconne, and so among the many wonderful things that I heard on that recording was the sound. It just sounded huge. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, do you have a double top guitar?
No, but I
Okay.
do have a button that says reverb on it.
Uh-huh. Okay.
I record here. So this space, it's a studio apartment in New York City, and it's quiet sometimes, sometimes not, but there is no natural acoustics here. And I have fluffy carpets everywhere and furniture. So it's not a completely dead space, but it's not what you hear on a recording. That's artificially added through Logic Pro. I think I use Silverweb, and Silverweb is like one of the categories. You know how like in the reverbs,
Right.
like different categories. It was in the Silverweb one, and then I just started playing around with what I liked because there's presets, but the presets are just a little too unnatural sounding. So I would pick one that was most natural to a concert hall, and then reduced it a little bit and added some other things. So that big sound that you're hearing, it's the reverb that's added. However, the guitar is a loud guitar. It's not a double top. It's double-sided, carved back, as I mentioned earlier, but the top is single. And I'm a loud player, so like I get a lot of volume. I don't know what I am doing in terms of recording techniques. I have the mics set, like I just experimented with it a little bit. Mine are slightly pointing at me at about 1.5 feet away from me. I just went by what sounded good to me. I haven't played around too much with it. I don't do any EQ because honestly, I just don't know how to. So there is whatever you hear in terms of the balance between the bass and the treble or whatever, that's how I played it. It wasn't because I fixed it later because I just don't know how to fix all of that stuff. So I just record it. I do wear some headphones to like listen to it afterwards, but I don't wear headphones when I'm playing, especially if I do the video and audio at the same time. Sometimes I'll record the audio ahead of time. It really depends. Not all of them are done the same way. If I do the audio ahead of time, then I'll wear the headphones so I can really hear what's happening. Yeah, and then I just edit in terms of like mistakes, and then add the reverb to it, but nothing else. So technique wise, I don't even know like what I could say to suggest to people. What I found helps me for recording. Let's say it's just an audio recording, right? Like there's not going to be a video component, or I'm just recording the audio ahead of time. What I normally do, if it's not a very long piece, I'll play the same piece from the beginning to the end about 4 times or so. And I do it in Logic, and Logic is nice because when you do a one take and then you do the second take and then the third and fourth, it just stacks everything on top of each other. So it's easy to like select, this section from take 1, this section from the second one, etc. It's easy. Sometimes I have to move them because I don't always start exactly at the same time. So I have to like move it so it aligns, but it does an automatic crossfade, which eliminates any clicking that might happen in between like me selecting from one to another. So it makes my life much easier. So I'll do like 4 or 5 max. After a while, if it's more than that, I find that it gets worse, So usually within 4 takes or so, I will find enough good sections where I can piece it together and the audio sounds without any like stupid mistakes and buzzes or whatever. And then I'll add the reverb. The Chacon, because it's such a long piece, I did not play it from the beginning to the end for 4 times. I did it in sections. I would play like the first section, like musical section. Sometimes it's a page, sometimes it's half a page, sometimes it's a page and a half, whatever. I would do that 4 times, and then I would do the next section 4 times, etc., so that it's more manageable. But I'm not going to play the same 15 minutes like 4 times in a row because I won't even remember what I messed up in the beginning to do it better the second time, right? Sometimes what I've also found that instead of doing it in full takes, because we can literally edit everything and anything, sometimes if I make a mistake, I'll just repeat, like I'll back up and play again without stopping the recording, and then just cut those things out. So it's some pieces I will just play through. If I mess up, I go back and play it again without stopping anything. And if I mess up again, I'll back up maybe a couple of notes and I'll play it again. And then when I go to edit, I just cut out the mess ups and like, continue with the correct one. And that sometimes works as well, instead of just doing 4 clean takes. So because I'm not a recording professional, I just and it's just me, so I can spend as much time as I need to get the job done. So I just do it what works. At the end, I am a perfectionist, so at the end, it's gonna sound decent,
Well, what you're saying is that the recording that Nick is commenting on was done in your apartment.
Yes, yeah, and then reverb was added to it, and that's why it sounds so big.
Well, I mean, that's nice
Sounds
job.
good. Sounds really good.
Thank you. This apartment converts. You can't really tell. Like right now, these didn't used to be there, but I have curtains. You can sort of see curtains behind me. There are curtains on the whole wall, like the 2 walls, and I have them because this apartment doesn't have any doors. It's all archways. So I didn't have like a big enough wall to have behind me. And the corner that you see behind me, actually part of it is an archway, like into one of the other parts of the place. So I had to cover it with a curtain. So behind me, it looks clean. So right behind me, the 2 curtains meet in a corner. It's just to cover things up. And like I shine the LED light to change colors just to get some variety. So yeah, it's all here. Basically, when I was looking for a new place to live, it had to be YouTubeable. It had to be a place where I could record.
You said the mics are about 1 foot to 1.5 feet away?
1.5 feet. It depends. If I'm gonna do the video and audio at the same time, I make sure the mics are not in view. I just don't like the look of having the mics. If I'm gonna do the audio ahead of time, the Chacon, the audio was done ahead of time because it's such a long piece. So the video you see, I'm actually sync playing to my recording that was done the day before. So in that case, the mics might have been a little bit closer because I didn't care, if it's going to be in the frame or not. yeah, so yeah, if I'm playing, the mics are usually in front of the guitar, so not centered, but in front of the body of the guitar, pointing at each other, but not too much. Why am
Okay.
I describing when I can just show you?
Yeah.
Please do ignore the cover. I just don't want them to get dusty.
That's
So
smart.
you can sort of see they would have been like this, pointing at each other. Can you tell? I can't turn it your way because the cable won't allow me. Maybe
It's okay.
no, cable won't
No,
make.
it's fine. Yeah.
So you can see like they're pointing towards each other, and I just have these rubber things on top so that the dust doesn't get on there.
Yeah.
And I'll put that a little bit higher right now. It's like low, pointing at the body of the guitar. But again, I don't know if I'm doing it right, but somehow the sound is decent enough to get compliments on it. So
There's no right or wrong. Yeah.
So
I'm sure like maybe a recording engineer would hear this and be like, what is she doing? Like, that is so wrong. But it works. So
I have to say, I've done a few albums with a recording engineer, and they sound great, but there was always something missing, I felt. And so the last album that I did it all myself, and I too messed around, and it does take some trial and error, which takes a lot of time and can be kind of tedious, but it sounds fantastic. I mean, it's the reverb choice and just this overall sound is really, really good, So yeah.
there are so many possibilities, like what you said, like having the patience to try everything out. At some point, you hear what you like, what you hear, you just have to be okay with it and just be like, you know what, I'm gonna go with this. Because if I kept playing with it, I could have still been playing and that recording would not have been made. Because there's so many options, like a millimeter this way, a millimeter that way. So as soon as I heard something that was acceptable and good, I was like, okay, this is it. And then I just basically replicate that every single time. And sometimes it's a little different. Like I said, like some of the videos, the mic might be a little bit further away. Sometimes it's a little bit closer. I can sometimes tell the difference. Sometimes I can't once you put the reverb on it, Yeah, so, at the end of the day, you hear it what you like, and then you just go with it because it's impossible to just find that one perfect way.
So have you ever done a recording in sort of the old traditional way with an engineer and all that?
Yeah, once, but a very, very long time ago. I think it was in between semesters, no, in between years in college. So that's how long ago. I went to a studio with a professional, engineer who had everything set up. It was a beautiful space that's soundproof and it has acoustics, and he had multiple mics besides the mic that was recording me. There were also mics set up to record the overall sound that it was in studio, and it was a great experience, especially since back then, like, I hadn't had any experience recording. So to kind of hear yourself on a recording that's like well done and then edited and everything, so it allowed me to see what's possible. But I haven't tried it since. And it really came out of like necessity, basically. When I needed to start recording, I started with recording all of those pieces for Strings by Mail, the lessons. Like I was doing this at home. And then eventually I recorded the first CD. And actually, the first CD I recorded of mine, I recorded it on a equivalent of a Zoom recorder, those like the H4 and whatever, but the Sony version of it. And it was really because I couldn't really afford anything else, because the renting a studio or hiring an engineer and everything in New York City, the hourly rate is insane. I don't even know what it is now, but it used to be close to $150 per hour. And, you need multiple hours to do it. And it gives you're boxed in because you have to go in for the amount of time that you have reserved. Sometimes it's an entire day of recording, and you have to do like 4 hours or 5-6 hours recording one day. So I didn't have that luxury or the finances to do it. So the very, very first one, I did it with this Sony recorder. It came out decent. It's not as nice as the Neumanns, obviously. The second CD, I had already at that point gotten way more into recording, and I was upgrading my equipment. So the second CD was done with the Neumanns. And again, buying a pair of Neumanns versus hiring a studio, and it's a different price range. So it started with the necessity and no other way of doing it. And then I like doing things myself. It's not that I don't trust other people to do it, but like, I'm sure they would have done a better job. But I like digging around and like looking up how to do things, and then having full control over what I'm doing and how long like not worrying about how long something is going to take. So yeah, so I like the process, and since I was getting favorable results and people seem to like it, so I figured like I'm doing something right. So I'm just going to stick with it. So
Can I interject here? How much I appreciate you sharing all of this with us. This is one of the things, I think we want from this podcast is to be able to ask people, what they're doing. What are you doing that you think is, working well for you? What can we learn from maybe mistakes that we've made we wouldn't want to do again? That level of transparency, like we're not keeping trade secrets to ourselves. It's a genuine effort. Like, I want to put this out there and help people, and that's really in the spirit of what we're trying to do with this podcast. So I really appreciate you telling us all these ins and outs and all the little details. It's great.
I'm glad. I mean, it's nothing, there's no secret, right? Like at the end, we all can buy a mic. We can all like YouTube instructions on how to use it. And it really, at the end of the day, it comes to the quality you're doing. It takes a lot of time. And you and I could have the same equipment and you can have more attention to detail and you will get better results. And if I'm more sloppy, I'll have worse results. But there's no secret. Like, I think nowadays everything's like available. So to pretend like you're doing something secret at home, it's just silly. So I'm glad it helps someone,
Yeah. So going back a bit, you mentioned that you selected the place that you're living at based on its like
it's
acoustic
YouTubeability.
Yeah. And I think that's a great segue to just social media and how you're kind of approaching it. Just wondering if you could speak a little bit about that. You've obviously been very successful on it. You mentioned Strings by Mail. And so if our listeners don't know what that is, stringsbymail.com is a great site for purchasing guitar strings of all types of guitars, guitar accessories, cases, just music, just so many things, but also lots of videos that you have recorded and others, ranging from just general pieces of music to like talks about technique and that kind of thing, tutorials and so on. It's a huge topic, but maybe if you could give us just kind of like a couple, tidbits about your experiences, what has worked, what has not worked, and what you focus on nowadays, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, when I said like I selected the apartment based on that, in my old apartment, so if you went back to look at some of my old videos, the background is like this black cloth, and at some point the background changed to a fake brick black cloth. It just looks like brick, but it's it's cloth. And in that space, I literally only had that wall. And if I had set up my camera just a little bit to the side or taken a wider angle, you would see my bathroom door and then you would see my kitchen door. So this wall was between my bathroom door and my kitchen door, and I literally had to put the camera exactly at the same spot so that the edges of the screen were exactly the same size. So when I moved here, was moving around, I just wanted to have a little bit more flexibility. I wanted to not be like pinned to the wall, where like I'm literally like resting on the wall. I wanted to have some background, some space behind me. So yeah, I got lucky. Even though this is a studio apartment, I have a foyer. Like there's a hallway and a foyer, and like there's a separate space that I could set up like my teaching area and then the YouTube videos. In terms of the social media, I started doing YouTube videos for Strings by Mail right out of college, grad school, so around 2010. And it all, again, started out because I needed to get US visas. I was on a student visa, then I had to get like an artist visa. So I needed to have work in the United States. So Strings by Mail was one of my sponsors, and I was making instructional videos for them. And this was all on YouTube. Back then I was not on Instagram. And this was 2010. So I don't even think there were that many instructional videos on YouTube back then. It's definitely now, it's just so much, especially after COVID, it just exploded. But back then I was one of the fewer ones who were putting instructional videos. So I think I started there. Eventually I started posting on my own channel because not that there was anything wrong with Strings by Mail, but if I'm doing it for Strings by Mail, I couldn't be as personal, because it's not my channel. So it had to be a little bit more professional, a little bit more, I guess, geared towards the piece, towards the lessons, where if it's my channel, it's about me, so if I'm posting videos from my concerts and stuff. It was all in one place. So I switched to recording and posting on my channel under my name, and that's what started growing afterwards. At some point, I also got Instagram, only because I had this channel. I mean, what is it called? What are Instagram? Oh, profile. That was my like photo profile. I was just putting pictures of like wherever I was traveling, and I noticed a lot of guitarists were following it, you know, and I didn't. My face was not there. I was just taking pictures of buildings, literally, but a lot of guitarists were following me. So I'm like, okay. I was posting things on Facebook, but then Facebook was kind of like dying, which is kind of like now too. So I created another profile in 2018, which is kind of late, for Instagram that's like only guitar, and started posting more guitar stuff there that slowly started growing. Personally, I don't think like I'm like an influencer or like a social media guru, because I don't have a strategy. I don't post regularly. I don't live my life for for social media, you know. I don't post anything personal. My guitar profile will, if my guitar is not in my hands, or if I'm not talking about guitar, that stuff will not be there. Like I'm not going to post selfies. I'm not going to take pictures of my breakfast unless that breakfast is at a guitar festival, in which case it's guitar related. Then I will post a picture of my breakfast before the concert at a guitar festival. But yeah, so I just, you know, my personal life is going to be out of it. So I bet like if I was doing something a bit more regularly and I had some kind of a plan, I'd probably be more, you know, I would have more followers. I don't know if that's more successful or not. But because I do it so haphazardly and I only do it like when I have the time and or when I actually have something to share, it's been more of a slower growth. But I did notice like if I take a break from posting for a while, the followers stay the same, and then eventually they start to decline, you know.
Really?
But if I post regularly, maybe a couple of times a week or so, then steadily the number of followers grows. That I noticed. It's just because that's not my job. My job is, I love teaching, so that's what I do most of the time, and I play concerts. So doing the whole social media thing, like coming up with the right picture, coming up with the right whatever trending thing, I'm not going to do that. That does, I have zero interest in doing it. So for me, it's there to share tips, maybe share how I'm practicing. I noticed lately people enjoy like if I post me practicing, but like actually practicing, not like posting a video of like a more polished piece, but screwing up, you know, like people love to see that we also can't play something perfectly if we have not practiced, right? So I would post a video where like I'm learning a piece and I can't play it, you know, I'm just like messing up every other note, and I get more positive comments or interest in that kind of video. People saying like, this is so refreshing to see, because like we just assume that you guys just pick up the guitar and play perfectly, which is cannot be further from the truth. Like if I don't know the piece, it's gonna sound like shit, like until I learn how to play it, which sometimes can take months depending on the difficulty of the piece. Like the Chaconne I started last December, and I recorded it in July, but I didn't play it in concert until October. So it almost like 10 months of working on it before it was presentable in concert, right? But people don't see that. So sometimes I'll share like me practicing, messing up, or a tip on practicing. And at least from the comments, I feel like that's what people enjoy seeing. And sometimes they like seeing the polished stuff as well. But I can't do that all the time because it's not every day that I practice, you know? So, or if I'm practicing, sometimes I rather be practicing instead of putting the camera in front of me to record what I'm practicing, right? So I'm not as consistent, but I bet if I was more consistent, it would be, you know, more, I would get more popular, I guess, on social media.
Yeah, that's fascinating that you're getting more engagement from sort of the human real side of it than like the finished product.
Yeah, if I, at least on Instagram, I noticed that if I repost like a segment of the Chaconne, right, that's like polished with reverb, pretty close, nice background, right? When I repost a segment from YouTube to Instagram, those videos don't do that well. But if I have like, if I'm just practicing, I use my phone and the sound quality is worse than using, you know, fancy Neumanns or whatever. Those videos where it's like more casual, when I'm showing that I'm working, those videos get more views and more engagement than a reposted video that's like completely polished from YouTube. But I do think of the two platforms differently. For YouTube, I won't put random things on there because on YouTube, it's I guess what they call an evergreen content, right? It's searchable. So once I put that Chacon in there, 10 years from now, someone who types in the Chacon and my name, that thing will come up and they'll watch it again 10 years from now. Like I have videos that are 13, 14 years old and the views are still going up. So I'm going to put something that I'm happy with and it's the best that it can be at that moment. So if I'm going to immortalize something on YouTube, I don't want it to be like this messy thing. Instagram, however, I mean, we just like scroll through it really, really fast. And you can't, if you saw something and you didn't like save it at that moment, your chances of seeing that again, yeah, so it's like someone sees my video and they just like keep going, they're never gonna come see it again unless they go stalk my profile and like go look at every single video I made. So it's not searchable, it's more passing. So I approach it more casually as well. I'm not gonna put up a whole production and lights and all that. I mean, I have a light that I turn on just so like my face is not in the dark when I'm recording, but I just use my phone or this like, recently I bought this like DJI Pocket 3, which is like, it's nice because it records in lens portrait, like the
like a phone.
not landscape, the other one, yeah, like a phone, exactly. So I'll put this so that I don't kill the battery on my phone, let's say, all the time, and record on that. No external mics, nothing, because it's going to be, people are going to look at it and then 5 seconds later forget it. YouTube, it's different, it's going to live there forever. It's a library basically of music you're creating, so that I'm going to be pickier about, get dressed up and set up the mics and all of that. So
wow, okay, very cool, thanks for sharing. That's pretty interesting. So the recording and social media and other things that you've been talking about kind of, I think, nicely lead into this next question, which is kind of a question zooming out a bit about the classical guitar world in general. I have some strong opinions about how things are going, like certain aspects of it. We don't have to talk about that, but I was curious to know if you have any thoughts on what you think is going right in the classical guitar world, and things that are not quite there yet, or things that are kind of going in a direction that you're not crazy about, if you're open to sharing.
I mean, I do want people to like me, so there's going to be certain things.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. No, I think what's more tangible, and I don't know, what happens like with someone who's already become a professional, whatever. Everyone chooses their path. They play the music they want. They play however they want. But what I've noticed that's gotten in a better direction, mostly in the U.S. because that's where I have experienced this. I haven't lived in Europe to know, but the level of the kids like playing, that has changed. Because when I came here, I was around 13, and there were not that many people my age who could play at the level I could play. And it was surely because I had started when I was 4 and 5, and by the time I was 13, I already had 8 years of playing experience. So of course, I'm going to be better than the kid who just started at 12 and it only has a year, right? And so back then, I was always like one of the best 13-year-olds playing, only because I started so young. But now I look at the kids who are playing now and some of the students that I have, the level of 13-year-olds now, completely different from 25 years ago. And in that respect, it's going in the right direction. And we're starting to take, like, your young child can start playing classical guitar at an early age that will give them the advantage to become a professional later. Versus, I think, like my age, I'm 41. So like when I was a teenager, by 18, there weren't that many girls playing at that time too, but a lot of times what would happen, like when I was in college, a lot of the freshmen, the same year that I got into Peabody, they had just been playing for a couple of years, mostly boys who were playing rock, in their garage bands, and eventually like, oh, classical guitar is cool, like, let me learn classical guitar. But you're starting at like 16, 17, 18, which is, it's not too late, but someone who started at 5, they're going to have an advantage, right? So nowadays, like, we're starting to play the classical guitar just like the violinists would, the pianists would. Like, you start a violin at 16 years old, like, you're not going to become a professional, most likely. You can become a very good player, but you're not, if you didn't start at 4. And probably same with piano, and probably same with a lot of other instruments. Some instruments you have to be a little bit older to start to have the strength, the lungs, right, etc. Guitar maybe 8, 9, totally fine. It doesn't have to be like 5. But that I think for classical guitar, that's changing, which means like the next generation, the level is going to be so much higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, when I look at the teenagers now, like I was having a discussion with one of my students, we're talking about the Sohr Mozart variations, and someone had mentioned to him that it's like a graduate level piece. I'm like, it used to be. Now it's a 13-year-old level piece. Like now people are playing the Mozart, the Sohr variations on a magic flute, right? 14-year-olds are playing it and very, very well. It is no longer a graduate level piece, you know? So that's changed when that wasn't the case, 25 years ago or so.
Yeah, it's always a trip whenever you go to a guitar competition and they have the
Yeah.
pre-college rounds and there's like the middle school round and the high school round, and the middle schoolers are sometimes more impressive than the high schoolers.
Yeah. No, I've
Um,
sat on some of those juries and like they come and play a repertoire that it's like, what are you doing? Like, and they play it well, and I think of like the 13-year-old me, like I would have been able to play the notes in that piece, but like it would not sound musical or clean, it would just be like this messy pile of notes that I compiled. So in that respect, I think it's going in the right direction.
is there anything that you'd like to see more of in our small world of guitar?
I don't know. What do you mean, like more of?
Uh, a certain kind of composer, a certain kind of music, certain kind of uh, stuff going on in education, or certain types of performance opportunities, recordings, whatever.
I mean, what would be nice is that if we were not so isolated, where, we're more just an instrument, a classical instrument, versus like where our audience like is like basically guitars. We're just playing guitars, playing for guitars. I think that's changing. It's becoming a little bit more expanded based on, different artists who are really trying to not just play for guitar audiences, but for a wider range of people. I would like to see more of that so that the guitar is just like you think of classical instrument, guitar is also one of the instruments you think of, not just, or the orchestral instruments. But we're going there. It's not going to happen right away. There are
Yeah.
certain limitations we have just because of our volume, requiring amplification if you play in like a really big hall. Like there's going to be some limitations, but technology nowadays is so good that we can amplify without sounding really bad. So that is a possibility. It just will take time, and good players and a quantity of good players where we just become not just like that one guitarist they can hire who can do the job, but many to choose from. And we're going in that direction slowly.
Yeah, for sure. I think we got to all of the questions that we wanted to ask of you. And just wanted to tell our listeners to check out your recordings on Spotify or Apple Music or other.
Yeah.
Actually, also on your website, you can download or purchase your album. Is that correct?
Yeah, on my website you can download the old one and the new one. On Spotify you can listen to the Bach that's also on my album, but it's also on Spotify paired with another Bach that you can also watch on YouTube. And yeah, and then the rest of it is mostly it's on YouTube. Like there's so many recordings at this point. And Instagram, I guess, if you just want to see tips and me suffering through new pieces, then that's there.
Excellent. Well, I've always been a fan of your music and your playing, and just think you're a fantastic musician. And congratulate you for all that you've accomplished, and hope that our paths cross sometime in the near
I hope so
future.
too.
And it's just honored to have you with us tonight. Thank you so much, Gohar.
Thank you for having me.
All right, that was a fantastic time with Gohar Vardanyan. Be sure to check out her music online, follow her on Instagram and all the other places that you'll find her. Wanted to remind you all to make sure that you like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. You can also check us out on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, all the others, wherever is convenient to catch your podcast. Feel free to reach out to us via email at pluckthatguitarpodcast@gmail.com. Feel free to leave a comment on any of our videos. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. And thanks, and see you next time.